The Wildcat Sports Club CNY Brewfest is coming up January 31st and February 1st at the New York State Fairgrounds. Taste your way through unlimited samples from more than 100 breweries. Now featuring hard ciders, seltzers, craft cocktails, and mocktails too. Grab your tickets now at cnybrewfest.com.
Burdick Ford and Burdick Toyota pregame show.
That it is. Welcome in. I think it's a bold start to the show to just backhand swat the mic to really let you know that we're on the air. But we're here. We're going. Brad Higgins with you. Cuse, Notre Dame, an hour out from inside the dome here today. Looking forward to this. Did we just do this? Yeah, we did this for South Bend a little more than a month ago. It was back on December the 7th, so we're month and a half out from that one. That was a 4-point Orange loss, a very winnable game, though a game played without J.J. Starling, a game for Notre Dame, and this is exceedingly important today as both will be available, was played without their star guard in Marcus Burton. So it kind of like for like. They both didn't have the guy a month and a half ago. Both of them have the guy back in here today. It was a 4-point loss for Syracuse in South Bend a month and a half ago. How does that affect things here today? And it was a game that, of the close games that happened when JJ was out, of which admittedly there were few. It was that in Georgetown, essentially, sort of Wake Forest, right? Of the close games that happened when JJ was out, the last 4 minutes were a no bueno. No bueno. For Notre Dame, Marcus Burton is back. He is scoring like he has always. He's got 20 or more in 3 of the last 4. Notre Dame, though, still in a bit of a tailspin. These are 2 8-9 teams. The Orange are 2-3 in the league. The Irish are 1-4. Notre Dame had been on a 4-game losing streak prior to beating Boston College their last time out. So this is 2 teams trying to get right here today in what could be a very vital matchup in less than enthralling ways come 2 months from now when we're trying to figure out who is in the ACC tournament. And a game like this certainly will determine seeding, because one would figure Notre Dame and Syracuse will land in, out, or otherwise very close to each other in ACC standings down the line. But this is one of those games. Tuesday was not, as became evident about 10 minutes in. Syracuse against the upper echelon of the league. Yeah, about that. Not going so hot. Syracuse got absolutely cracked over the head by Louisville on Tuesday night in the Dome. Just obliterated. It was 85-61. It was close for 6 minutes, 8 minutes, and then boom. The game ended real quick. And it wasn't, sometimes you get a run against a team and you're like, whoa. That was like volcanic. This was just like Louisville just slowly accelerated, it felt like, and Syracuse couldn't match the pace. They just couldn't keep up with them. Louisville, it's not like they sprinted away. They're like, oh, we're both going 60. Well, we're going to go 67 right now, and you can't go faster than 60. They just couldn't keep up the pace with Louisville, and we just saw that gap. We saw that gap when Syracuse takes on these top teams in the league. Pittsburgh will be in the Dome coming up next Saturday. That's worrisome because Pitt feels like they're in the top group of the league, and the Orange do play the Panthers twice this season. Duke obviously comes to the Dome on February 5th. North Carolina comes to the Dome, I think it's a week and a half after that. You look at the upper echelon teams in the league, I don't know if Syracuse has the juice for them this year. Now, in years past, Syracuse certainly has struggled in those games. Look no further than last year on the road at North Carolina. The Orange went down there and just got run out of the building at the Dean Dome. The difference between this year, it feels like, and last year and some of these other Syracuse teams is, while that was in play, the other side of the coin was also in play, that Syracuse played Carolina in the Cuse like a month later and won the game. This year, watching Louisville, watching games like that. Clemson will be a road game coming up this Wednesday, so the next 2 games after today fall into this category. I don't know if the Orange have just the necessary manpower to stick in games like this, which makes today vital. You look at Notre Dame, this is a winnable game. This is an eminently winnable game today for Syracuse, and realistically, On the other side of the coin, it's the exact same conversation for Notre Dame. Are we getting the same news we always get in now at this point? Is this what's just happened? The same news we always get at this point before tip-off these days? No Donnie Freeman? I mean, no duh at this point, but is that the deal? Everyone in the chat saying no Donnie Freeman? Is that factual? Has that happened yet? I don't know if I've actually seen that out there yet. I would be stunned to see him today or realistically anytime soon, and that's not based on any medical knowledge about the situation. But Donnie's not played for a minute. And, yes, Mike Waters reporting this a while ago that Donnie Freeman, right foot, will not play in today's game. Fourth straight game that he has missed. So, yeah, no surprise there. Our early Harding and Mazzotti injury report for that one. It's just inevitable. I don't know. I said this the other day on my show. This is not like I've been like grinding on the MRIs or anything like this. It's just, vibes. This isn't sources. This is just trying to read the room a little bit. Realistically, I would be more surprised to see Donnie Freeman on the court in a Syracuse uniform again this season than I would if we never saw him on the court in a Syracuse uniform again. That's just my vibe. It's not based on any medical situation. This foot thing feels vague and potentially never-ending, at least until the end of this season. Or maybe it's something that could be better by Wednesday when they're on the road at Clemson. I have no idea medically, but all the answers we've gotten on it have been exceedingly vague from Red and anyone that's spoken on it. We had Griff on the show the other day, so there's nothing really forthcoming injury-wise about any of that to glom onto. But, man, he's had a weird hitch to his gait all season. Clearly was limping in the last game he played down at Florida State, and walking boot, at least at the men's basketball games, ever since. What does it mean? I don't know. But I'm getting toward the point where, given other potential options out there still, I know people will find it, the NBA draft, yeah, he's still 6'10". He's still a major talent. Would he get drafted this year if he left and went to the draft? Absolutely. Would he be in the first round? No, let's not go so far. But guys like that get drafted. They get picked if they want to do that. The transfer portal obviously is always available. Like if you're weighing the various, coming back to Syracuse is available. I'm not ruling that out. It just doesn't seem to be the leader in the clubhouse at this point. So it's one of those weird things now where in the world we live in. I was talking about this the other day around. Forget if we did it on the air or around the office. Whatever. We were having the conversation that. Like back in my day, back in the olden days, the old and back in the days of yore, like 5 years ago, you'd look at the roster this year, you'd look at the recruits coming in next year, and like I can close my eyes and envision a lineup that has J.J. Starling, Chapel Moore, Cayenne Anthony, Donnie Freeman, and Sadiq White on the court all playing together. Man, that's a lot of talent on the floor. My goodness, that would be the most talented five they aren't you put on the floor in a minute. But the odds of being able to stack those years together and glue it all into one team of various years that you've recruited and actually put it all on the court, man, while it is still technically possible, it feels those days have passed us by. Because like that group, I'd sign me up. I'll watch those five play some basketball. Let's go. Let's do it. But it just doesn't feel like that's going to happen, and Donnie at the moment would be the lead card in that pile. Hopefully we get other news at some point, but yeah, hopefully we get other news at some point, but just not in the vibes, at least as of today. Donnie Freeman out for a fourth consecutive game. No surprise there. Harding and Mazzotti injury report. As far as we know, nothing else injury-wise worth delving into today. At least I don't know about anyone's warm-up back brace situation today. Maybe we'll get Paulie to check on that at some point. But let's look back on Tuesday. There's not a lot to dive in on the basketball. Syracuse got run off the court by Louisville, 85-61. The Dome, yeah, I'll be very intrigued to see what the Dome looks like today. The Dome was, again, reasonably empty looking on Tuesday night. Announced attendance was 19,000 and change. The green shirts, thank goodness they did that on Tuesday, not tonight against Notre Dame. The green shirts left draped across seats all game long told a very different tale of butts in seats here. And I think the main frustrating part about that game is we all just watched Syracuse get out-athleted in that game. That game was won in many ways because Louisville, not out of like effort or anything, was literally just faster running down the court. Like fast breaks and open shots just occurred because their regular speed was higher than Syracuse's regular speed. And then add in a few effort gaps, whatever Chris Bell was doing when that ball was bouncing around, Jair Davis and crew, like diving for the loose ball after the guy had already picked it up and kicked it out to the corner for a wide open three. Like there was multiple plays like that. And they're like, what? Did that just happen? Did that just happen? Multiply that by Louisville just erasing JJ from that game. And Syracuse can't win a game like that. Chucky Hepburn, the former great defender for Wisconsin at point guard, transferred into Louisville in the offseason, one of the many portal acquisitions. Fantastic head of hair on that guy, by the way. He was great all night on Tuesday, offense, defense. He locked up JJ. The defense, the secondary defenders, the other four guys were exceedingly aware of him, ready to help, ready to hedge, ready to slide, ready to do whatever. Not that Chucky needed another help. JJ got held to 4. Syracuse just does not have the secondary options this year to win a game when that happens. We saw that when JJ was out hurt, and we saw that healthy the other night when the defense did that. The Syracuse just does not have like the alternative options to be able to take care of things like that this year. So Chris Bell had 18 points, but it was Chris Bell had 18 points, but it was kind of empty calories. All right, so this, I guess, from Matt Park and crew over on the Syracuse Sports Network broadcast, airing currently on TKN 89, updating our Harding and Mazzotti injury report, constantly evolving. From that broadcast, apparently Donnie might need surgery and is going for tests this week. Well, there we go. So, again, just doesn't feel extremely likely based on whatever we've heard that he gets back out on the court this season, which is unfortunate because for all of the things you can detract from his game, like his defense, his movement, whatever, is floating around at the three-point line, the dude still was a rebounding machine for a freshman, had a bunch of double-doubles. Last time against Notre Dame, I want to say you don't need Donnie Freeman today. Notre Dame has zero interior defense. Donnie had 20 and 11 in that game. 20 and 11 in that game. And obviously will be unavailable for the game today and potentially, reading the tea leaves for a while longer. So you got a foot thing, and if doctors need to use knives and such on it, that generally, you don't come back next week. That's generally how that goes. But we shall see on that. All right, let's get just a little Red from last game. We'll hear Red during the week with Steve and Paulie here coming up in a bit. But here's Red from after the game, and this is what happens when JJ gets locked up.
We had a couple of missed opportunities early in the game, some missed shots, a couple of layups. Then we had a chance to get a loose ball. We didn't get it. They got it and got a three-pointer. And then we fouled three-point shooter. And I thought, from there on, they kind of, that momentum carried in. And we just couldn't get going. They did a great job on JJ. And if JJ scores 4 points and stuff like that, we're going to have a tough time to win.
I'd say a lot of what stunk about that game on Tuesday night is once the game just kind of slid away, there was never a second after that, late first half into the second half, where it felt like Syracuse might make a move. It disappeared and just slowly moved further and further out of reach. There was never even the false hint of a run to get back in the game. There was not even like a minute where you're like, oh, well, maybe. No, we didn't get teased or tricked with any of that on Tuesday night. All right, with that, we'll hit our first break here in our Burdick pregame coverage here today. Phone line's open if you'd like to join in as we work you toward a 4 o'clock tip time today. 315-437-7644 for ESPN 44. You guys know the number. We'll get Red Autry's weekly conversation with Stephen Pauly from Orange Nation coming up. We'll update you more on the Irish, the opponent today. Both teams sitting at 8 and 9 overall right now. So a 1 trying to get back to the break-even mark with a W in the Dome today. All that and much, much more when we come back after this. It's Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. Melo was big on wearing the hoodie, too. He'd like keep that hood up. What's going on the YouTube? What's up on the YouTube today? What's up, YouTube? I don't have the right link open on YouTube. That's yesterday's show. That's why you're not there. Oh, my goodness. Take two. What's you up, YouTube? Why do you say that, Orange 22? Why do you think the Irish are clearly playing better than Syracuse right now? They've lost 4 out of 5. And Randy, I'll be on postgame today. Neither team's playing well. Notre Dame's not good. Notre Dame beat Boston College last time out. Whoop-de-doo. YouTube is the Chris Bell of this chat. It's new, Jet. It's comfy. They still stink bad. Doesn't mean Syracuse is going to win the game, but let's not pretend Notre Dame's good. Yeah, this should be like a this is a good desperation test game though. Like, who's willing to fight for it? What are their recent losses? They lost to they had that weird. They got pummeled early by Duke, but then hung around for a while. Lost by 8 to Duke. Lost by 1 at NC State. Lost by 1 to North Carolina. So, yeah, they've had some close losses. Lost by 9 to Georgia Tech. They blew out Lemoyne. We're at Lemoyne. Then they beat Boston College. They're not that good. Yeah, San Diego Cuse is on it. Yeah, they beat Georgetown very early before Burton got hurt. Shouldn't you be on a plane, Paul? What are you doing? Yeah, it's just like, nah. Good job, Ryan. And now you have your $100 or whatever you got. You have landed? You're in Cali? That it is. No surprise, no Donnie Freeman today. We've already touched on that to get things going with our Harding and Mazzotti injury report. Phone lines open and available if you'd like to chime in as we work our way toward a 4 o'clock tip time in the Dome today. 315-437-7644 are the digits if you'd like to chime in today. But right now, let's check in with the head coach of the Orange, as he always did this week. As he always does. He did it. As he always does. He joined Orange Nation Thursday, 1 o'clock, brought to you by our friends at Oswego County Mutual. Here is Steve and Paulie's conversation with Red.
We'll start with the last game and then look ahead from there. Going back to Louisville Tuesday night, rough night. Obviously, they're a really good team. What was the biggest challenge, I guess, that they presented on Tuesday night?
I thought we competed for the first, 13 or 14 minutes, and then probably the last 4 minutes of the game, of the first half, I thought we had a couple of 50-50 plays that we needed to make, and we didn't make. A loose ball, they grab it, shoot a three. We go under on the shooter, he gets a 4-point play, and I thought that kind of separated it. And then after that, we just had a tough time trying to, dig our way out of and get back to make it a competitive game in the second half.
I want to ask you something about the 50-50 balls. How do you instill, the word discipline comes up a lot from our listeners. How do you instill, there's one specific play, I'm not going to say a player name, where they didn't dive for a loose ball. Yeah. How do you instill into the players the need for that to happen?
We talk about it, we practice, loose balls, but I think ultimately, you hope that your guys understand it. You hope that they are the first to the floor. We work on it. You do things like that, little drills, energy drills, 50-50 ball, drills, charges and all that. You work on that stuff. And, sometimes they just, they don't do it. They don't do it. Sometimes we do it. Sometimes, other teams, I'm sure all teams do it. It's just in the game that you have to be able to do that.
I got one more question on that topic. When you're scouting a player, how do you realize, is that something noticeable that you can see in a player, that's a guy that's going to go do those things?
I think, you see it, but you also believe in, what your program is about, and you believe that, you have to make those things, valuable, they're very important. So, you stress that, again, we do, and we have done those. Again, does every player do everything you ask them every time? No. Does your kid listen to you and everything that you tell them to do? No. So again, I think you got to always be whole picture. When it comes to, a season, do you make those plays more consistently than not? And I think that's where you can kind of come up with, whether someone is going to do that or not. And then when you're, obviously when you're recruiting and you're evaluating, you try to find those, but there's not a lot of clips of loose balls out there.
Yeah, right. That's a good point. Along those lines, Coach, Chopper Moore is a name that keeps coming up on our show as well. And I don't need to tell you this, 6 straight games where he hasn't scored a point. Aside from making shots, because sometimes a player can't control that, right? He's had a lot of shots go in and out. Right. But what else does he need to do, and what's the messaging been to him for him to earn more minutes on the court, whether he's making shots or not?
Well, I think we all know, some of the things that are, glaring for us is taking care of basketball. I think he's been forced to make some plays off the bounce and not had the best decisions and just keep working. He's a freshman, and again, he's a guy that, that works his tail off. He continues to do that. But freshmen coming into college basketball, that's a tough transition to make. And again, we're playing, different, and he has some guys that are more experienced than him, ahead of him. And, and here's the reality, we're struggling a little bit, so I'm looking for, to be able to try to solidify, some type of defensive, pressure resistance and knowing what's going on, and rotations and things like that. And that's a lot to ask, So again, he just has to keep doing what he has to do, and keep working and not keeping his head down. And, again, the shots will fall, but the attention to detail, all those things, those things all matter. And I think, most freshmen, all of them go through it. We can't afford to do a lot of it. We've tried that and we haven't had the results that we've had. So we got to try to do the best that we can.
JJ coming off a game in which he only scored 4 points, only took 7 shots, both season lows. He hasn't taken less than 7 shots in a game in more than a full calendar year. What was it about what Louisville was doing defensively? And I guess, is there a concern that other opponents are going to try and do that, right? They're going to try to take JJ away, your best player, the best that they can. Other guys are going to have to step up. That didn't happen on Tuesday. Is there any concern that what Louisville did can be replicated, I guess, by the opponents moving forward?
I think every team poses a different challenge, but I do know, if you come in to play a Syracuse team and you want to, your game plan, you got to try to figure out how to stop him. So I think he'll see more coverages of that. I think, for JJ, this is the first time, that he, in a long time, has been, the head of a scouting report, and teams are trying to stop him and stuff like that. So we have to go through that process and be able to, kind of move him around a little bit more. Sometimes with the ball, sometimes without the ball. We got to come up with some different things so that they can't, so we can offset that so that he can still be impactful and help us win.
I was watching the Louisville game, and they take a lot of threes in their games. Like, everybody shoots them. How, like, offensively, is that, I don't want to question your thing, is that an option for you guys? Because how do you get other guys open looks? Like, Jair got open looks because they're not used to him hitting that. Is that an option for you guys to shoot more threes?
I'll tell you why Louisville can do it is they really have, they typically have 3 to 4 guys that all can kind of put it on the floor and attack the rim and make the defense shrink. So that's why they have the ability to get a lot of threes off. When you don't have that, you got to try to, do it by screening and trying to, do it by passing. And they're a quick team. So, and most teams are quick. So, that's how they have the ability to do it. The point guard doesn't necessarily have to bring the ball up. Their 2-man can bring the ball up. Their 3-man can bring the ball up. And occasionally they have a 4-man that can bring the ball up, that all can drive and kick. So that's how you can have the ability to do that. With us, I thought we got good looks. And I think, speaking of Elijah, he had 2 open looks in the beginning of the game. I think, if you make 1 or 2 of those, the game may, change a little bit, for the first half. But we're getting some open looks, not a lot of them, so we're probably putting a little bit of pressure on ourselves to make them.
Just doing our job here, we do have to ask you about Donnie Freeman. I don't know if you can give us an update, but even if you can't give us an update on a timeline, can you let us know, I guess, how will things look different when he's back? What do you miss about him the most not having him?
Well, I think you add another guy that can score. You add another guy that can rebound the basketball, even though rebounding has, for the most part this year, we've been one of the better rebounding teams in our league, and, just a good rebounding team. But, a guy that can actually, score a little bit more. He was the guy that was probably, statistically was our best three-point shooter. A guy that could, knock a, occasional 3 down. And it was big for even Jair to be able to knock, 2 down because he's a better shooter than what his percentages are. And so, if we can get some more threes, that he was the guy that had the ability to do that. And rebounding, and his defense was getting better. It wasn't there, but he was getting better with that. But we missed some rebounding and some outside scoring, for sure.
Let me follow up on Donnie real quick because we've had some people wonder if it's actually a serious injury and if he's not coming back. Can you address that at all? Will we see him back this season during the regular season?
Again, that's still kind of day to day. I know we should know something very soon as far as where he's at. But I know he is improving. So that's again, I still don't have a timeline on that.
All right, I like to ask one listener question of every interview, Coach. One of them wants to know about your philosophy about getting around screens with your team.
Around screens?
Yeah, like when you're playing defense. Is your team?
Hard to get around. It's hard to get around moving screens, So, and again, I thought it was a couple of those the last game we played. But typically, my philosophy on moving screens is that we try to blow screens up and try to get in between and push people out. And if not, we chase them over with help from the passer, like every team does.
Thank you,
like every team does. So again, I'll say this. I played in this program, and this program is one of the best in the country. And are we performing at the way we want to perform? No. so I understand the questions that you get, and the frustration, and it should be, and I'm, we feel the same way. This team feels the same way. But the one thing I tell everyone out there, this team is not giving up. I'm not a quitter. We don't quit. We're going to keep battling. We're going to keep performing every game and giving it our best. Is it always going to come out the results that we want? No, but we will not stop playing and getting better. So we're looking at this as a whole season. You finish the season, we're going to play to the end. And that's what I would say.
And with that in mind, you've got Notre Dame next, a team you already saw. Both teams were without their best player in that game back in December. What do you take from that game? Because, again, the teams are different now. And I guess, what can you take out of that game, and what do you expect to see on Saturday?
Obviously Notre Dame, Coach Shrewsbury, Mika Shrewsbury is a great coach. Offensively, they always have guys that can shoot the basketball. They got their point guard back, just like we got our point guard back. So, again, last year's game, if you can remember, it was a high-scoring game, going back and forth, high pace, a lot of shot-making abilities. I expect them to come in with the same thing. It's going to be, a lot of stress on our perimeter, the three-point line and trying to, run people off the three-point line and contain and rebound. And so, I think it's going to be a high-paced game.
From Orange Nation, that was Thursday afternoon. As always, brought to you by our friends at Oswego County Mutual. He joins Orange Nation every week. New to our head coach conversations, Felicia Leggett-Jack will begin joining my program this upcoming Monday, Fridays at 5:15. So we've got it covered coming and going. The women and Boston College coming up on tomorrow. Tomorrow is Sunday. That is when the game is. So that is out the windshield for them tomorrow. We'll talk to her coming up on Monday, and Red will be back on, of course, with Paulie and Steve coming up on Thursday. I got JJ on my show on Monday. I think we're shifting. You gotta check out the new semester schedules. I believe JJ, who'd been on Thursday, is going to be shifting to Monday. So yeah, we'll see. We'll talk to some people. They'll be on the radio. Listen to the show on Monday. How about that? Okay, a little bit of Red Autry for you there. Let's get a break in. Phone line's open if you'd like to participate today at 315-437-7644. We'll have a little look. I know we've done it once already this year, but a little peek at the Syracuse Notre Dame series, the last meeting that came a little bit more than a month ago, and get you ready for today's game in the Dome between the Orange and the Irish, a half hour out. Listening on TK, watching on ACC Network today. We'll step aside for a few. Back at it next here on Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.
The Sports Show with Cody Mack.
You want to call and complain or tell me what you think could happen or should happen? I don't mind. If you've got
I don't know. I think we're evaluating Donnie through the scope of not how things work anymore. Like, you got to toss in NIL. Everyone's a free agent every year. How the NBA drafts. Like, in the past, a guy like Donnie clearly comes back to school. Well, that's just not necessarily the way of the world. I don't know his view on academics. Not anything. Is this Wake Virginia Tech game going to end before the Syracuse game starts? This is going to be tight. There's still a lot of time left in this game. Man, like, I would love to watch a JJ, Choppa, Cayenne, Sadiq, Donnie lineup. Like, you got some pieces there. Love to watch it. I just don't think I ever will. Like, that's a 5, and yeah, there's some positional stuff. I mean, but, like, Sadiq is a great defender from all we hear. Now, you'd still need another big guy. That wouldn't necessarily be your starting lineup if they were all here. But, that'd be some talent. There's talent. But the odds of all 5 being here next year are just not high. And that's not a Syracuse thing. That's just Just what it is. JJ leaving would be a kick in the balls. Leaving for another school, that is. That is what it is. That's why I'd like to see them get wherever this is going, let's have some multi-year contracts involved. Steve is on the injury list, Paul, the permanent injury list. He's been medically retired. We're going to park Ryan in the post. We're going to feed that block. Twin Towers, Ryan and Eddie. We're going to go old school, ground-based post game. Yeah, people won't see it coming, Ryan. Yeah, Steve would be out for a month on Orange Nation if we popped him into the game. Yeah, Randy, I agree. It's clearly not day-to-day with Donnie, whatever it is. Yeah, Miami is bad.
This is the Burdick Ford and Burdick Toyota pregame show.
That it is. We are back. Phone lines open to you if you'd like to join us. Got 20-ish minutes left in our program. 25-ish minutes left until ball in air at the Dome today for the Cuse and the Irish. 315-437-7644 if you'd like to join in as we give you this day in SU basketball history, presented by the Shep Family Funeral Home. Celebrate your loved one with help from Shep. Visit shepfamily.com. Well, the all-time series, Syracuse and Notre Dame. The Orange have the edge, but it's close-ish. Syracuse 34 all-time wins. Notre Dame 23. First meeting this season was a 5-point game in South Bend. 69-64 Notre Dame. It was nip and tuck the whole way. The Orange had the lead, and it just leaked away late in the game. Just leaked away late. And we knew this going into the first game, and it played itself out this way. We knew that Notre Dame has absolutely zero, not that Syracuse has any, but Notre Dame somehow has less rim protection than Syracuse does. They have nothing about the inside game, the inside presence. Absolutely nothing. Donnie Freeman had 20 and 11 in that first game. Obviously, he's not there today. Jair Davis had 20 in that game. Not a big game from Eddie Lampkin. I wonder if he can, kind of absorb Donnie's inside protection in this game, and Jair can have another big game, so that same thing goes along. The main worry coming into that game for Syracuse defensively was not Marcus Burton, because he was hurt, much like J.J. Starling was hurt. Burton was out with a sprained knee. J.J. was out with the hand when they played back on the 7th of December. Braden Shrewsbury, son of head coach Micah Shrewsbury. Last year in the Dome, his first meeting against Syracuse, he hit 6 threes. He was 6 of 9 from 3 in the Dome. Scored 18 points. He was one of the only weapons available for Notre Dame a month ago in the game at the Joyce Center. And yet, Shrewsbury, 25 points, 6 of 11 from 3. Like, what are we taking away from that? You got to guard this guy. That said, like, Syracuse has not been able to guard him in 2 years. He's hitting literally 6 threes every time he plays. 6 threes in every time he plays against Syracuse. And now with Burton back in the game, Burton, it was a wild game last year in the Dome. The Orange pulled it out 88-85. Got played out way differently than I think we expected last year. No defense whatsoever. Marcus Burton had 28 in that game to go with Shrewsbury's 6 threes. So those two guys went off in this building last year, and they are present and accounted for here today. As far as the Orange in this building last year against the Irish, Judah had 21 in that game. Chris Bell had 18. JJ had 14. Well, we've seen here from JJ. I'm intrigued by JJ in this game today for a lot of reasons. Obviously, he used to play at Notre Dame. There's the theme that Marcus Burton replaced him at Notre Dame. Both missed the last game. JJ, in his 2 games at Notre Dame against Syracuse, kind of had the shoulder thing going. He didn't play well in either game. He didn't do much in either game 2 years ago, either in an Irish uniform, either at the Joyce Center or in the Dome. Last year, he was fine, but the game didn't swing on what JJ did last year against Notre Dame. I do wonder today, all right, JJ, no, he's not playing against, anybody he played with or knows or coached for or anything. They're all different people. It's a whole different ball of wax going on there in the Irish locker room than anything JJ dealt with. But I wonder if JJ is going to have a good game going against his old team today. That would be a huge one for the Orange. Syracuse had been on a nice little run recently against Notre Dame, had won a few in a row before dropping that game out in South Bend here earlier this year. But I'd say the main thing we've noticed about this series of late is, like, there have been a lot of close games between Syracuse and Notre Dame. There have been a lot of close games between Syracuse and Notre Dame of late. Look at some of these recent scores. This year, Orange lose by 5. Last year, Orange win by 3. The 2 games the year before, so 2022, 2023, Orange a 5-point win, Orange a 1-point win. 2022, Notre Dame wins by 10. 2021, Syracuse wins by 8. 2020, Syracuse wins by 2. Also, 2020, Syracuse loses by 1. 2019, Syracuse wins by 10. 2018, Syracuse loses by 2. You got to go back to 2017 to find a margin of this series north of 10. That was a 18-point loss for Syracuse out in South Bend. So it's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The last 10 games in this series, 9 of them single digits, and the outlier is a 10-point game. So I look at this series. The spread's currently favoring the Irish. The Irish won the first meeting between these teams. I'm having a hard time in envisioning a game today that is not decided in the last minute or two. It's just hard to conceive of it in my brain, almost regardless of what happens in the lead up to it throughout the game today. It just feels like it's going to come down to the nip and tuck, the tail end, and who's going to make some plays. Last time, Shrewsbury made plays. Nobody on Syracuse made plays in the last 4 minutes of the game last time. Like Donnie Freeman and Jair Davis had great games. It wasn't there at the close. And you didn't have your closer in J.J. Starling. I'm intrigued to see what J.J. does today, coming off just completely getting wiped off the face of the earth by Louisville on Tuesday night. Now it's both his next game and against his old team. The reason they lost last time, you didn't have a guy that could put the closing argument on the court. He's the guy that does that for the team. Like, it's all pointing at J.J. being a decisive factor in this game today. All pointing at J.J. being a decisive player in the game today. We'll see how it sorts itself out, but I have a hard time envisioning this game, even with all the different ways that people can have big games, without it evening out in some way down the stretch here today. All right, we'll take a break. We'll give you our final keys to the game after this. Still time for a call if you'd like. 315-437-7644. Rapidly closing on tip time in the Dome today between Syracuse and Notre Dame. It's Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. Got to watch that Judah. Many times, LA Orange. Many times. I've also preemptively fired him if he eats our bag of Kyle McCord chips. Yes, we have picked a winner, Jen. Details, I believe, are sorting. I need to get the name of the winner. I don't think it was any of our normal group here. I half heard a phone call the other day. Somebody sounded very excited. Judah is in the G League. I think he's doing fairly well, I think. Let's look it up. Yeah, Jen, that was a sweet package. Shout out to Labatt. To the home of the Delaware Bluecoats. It used to be the Delaware 87ers, which was a much cooler name to go with the 76ers than Bluecoats. Judah Mintz, in 10 games played, is averaging 34 minutes a game, 16.5 points a game. He's shooting 35% from the floor. He's shooting 20% from three. 77% from the line. 3 rebounds a game, 5 assists a game, 1.5 steals a game. Plus minus, he is minus 0.9 points a game. He's doing all right. But it's the same thing that we knew was going to be the problem. He can't shoot the 3 yet. Best Cuse. I mean, like, did Rosie Bowie, did he ever actually play a game in the NBA? Like, he technically declined to go play in Italy, basically. You mean like literally never played in the NBA or didn't make the NBA? What's our difference here? Like, I'm kind of stunned, like, based on their shooting, that Buddy and Cole aren't at least sticking in some role. I mean, if you want to look at literally college stats, literally never played in the league, I guess it's probably Jerry. Did Rosie, let me see, did Rosie Bowie play 0 games in the NBA? Yes, Elvira of China. Elvira of China is the correct answer to this question. Billy Seelick. Josh Wright and Deshaun Wright. Roosevelt Bowie. Wow. Spelling his name wrong is not a good start. We've already done that before. We don't need to do that again. Roosevelt Bowie, NBA. Yeah, Deshaun's had issues. It's McNabb. Bowie never played in the NBA. All right. The answer is Rosie, then. The answer is Rosie. That is a fact, Philly's Most Wanted. That is, like, are they still together? I've lost track of that. Like, that is like one of the, yeah, Damone played more than 0 games, I think. All right, back at it. Last few minutes with you here on this Saturday. At least a few minutes for pregame. I got to give you the deets on the postgame here today. I'll be with you for postgame. Syracuse and Notre Dame are tipping off in a little bit more than 10 minutes here today. Postgame here. So normal. It's not crazy, but we may be a little just accelerated toward it, like ready to go. Because game ends, post-game starts. So we know the drill. We'll be here on the radio. We'll be on Cuse Sports Talk. the Twitch, the YouTube, all the places that we are. Red Autry's full post-game press conference brought to you by our friends at Romano. All the stuff that we normally do, we'll do post-game. The thing is here, normally, we take an hour. We can relax a little bit. But tonight, the crunch play at 7:05, which means countdown to crunch time with our guy Lucas Favali starts at 6:50, which means in order to please all of our fine sponsors that we need to go to commercial by like 6:45 and change. So like we got one of them hard outs for post game today. So we gotta mind our P's and Q's here to make sure we're all good for the post game. But we'll be here. We'll get our stuff in. Phone lines will be open. We'll do all the thing. We're just gonna do it high octane, fast paced. Still waiting on starters to be posted for today. As Syracuse tweeted out the starting lineup as of yet. They're not officially. And the stats. Let's see if there's any changes to the starting lineup today, a.k.a. is Chris Bell back in the starting lineup today, would be the one possible change you can see made to the starting lineup that would make any sense. Loading. It's loading. It's loading very slowly. No, same starting five. JJ... Syracuse now tweets out their starting five. They're trying to use as few letters as possible. G... dash JJ, G dash Choppa, F dash LT, F dash JY, C dash Eddie. JJ Starling, Elijah Moore, Lucas Taylor, Jair Davis, and Eddie Lampkin are your starting five today for the Orange against the Irish in the Dome. Haven't gotten a peek at Notre Dame starters, but Marcus Burton obviously is going to be the big difference in the game. Burton and Shrewsbury is a very talented backcourt. That Notre Dame's front line this year is lacking. It is lacking. Can Eddie Lampkin get something going today? Because I'm trying to look at, all right, it was a 5-point game last time. What slight tweaks need be made to put this in the W column for Syracuse? Well, there's already been one tweak the wrong way. Donnie Freeman had 20 and 11 in that game out in South Bend. He's obviously out, not playing again for the fourth straight game. Our Harding and Mazzotti injury report. Jair Davis into the starting lineup. He had a big game out in South Bend last time. He had 20 points. So what do we got to rotate? Davis has got to be back in there. That means we need to see yet another good game from Eddie Lampkin. Eddie's been playing well. It feels like another double-double opportunity for Eddie. I don't know who on Notre Dame's getting rebounds away from him. And let's see if Eddie can score in the post today. And then we're going to have the J.J. Starling versus Marcus Burton battle, which should be outstanding. Last year in the Dome, it was a lot of Burton versus Judah, and both of them had big offensive games. Now, what can JJ do? Will they literally be guarding each other all game? It's hard to say. And then, okay, what has Syracuse done? What lessons have they learned from last year and from a month ago, which was also last year? What lessons have they learned about guarding Braden Shrewsbury, about not letting him get looks off from the outside? Twice he's played Syracuse, and each game he's hit 6 threes. All right. Like, we know the game plan here, guys. That guy, he's the one. Don't let him shoot the threes. Can Syracuse do that? You do that, you do something to limiting Burton is hard, but make him inefficient. He's been north of 20 in 3 of his last 4 since coming back from his knee sprain. So, who's going to be able to lean into their strength? Neither team can guard the rim. Can the Orange at least hit enough threes to somewhat keep pace with Notre Dame? Or can they do what they did the first time for 36 minutes of not need threes at all and just pound the ball inside so much that keeps them around the game? This is two very similar teams in this way. They don't play a similar style, but this is two similar teams in this way. They're both sitting 8-9. They're both sitting there just they need a little kick in the butt, right? And these are the games you got to win in this league if you don't want to get mired in 16, 17, 18, a.k.a. not in Charlotte for the ACC tournament. All right, places to watch and listen today. Of course, TK99 and ESPN 1200 here in the Cuse is your place to listen to the game with Matt Park and Jim Sadlin. If you actually want to tune into Notre Dame radio today, however one would go about doing that, Tim Leonard is filling in on Notre Dame radio because of the football national championship on Monday. So you could get an excitingly new and weird perspective on the whole game today if you hear Tim Leonard rooting for Notre Dame on the Notre Dame radio broadcast. But you have to seek that out for yourself. And 2 Cuse guys calling the game on TV again. Same crew that we had on Tuesday night, ACC Network, expecting to see Doug Sherman and Eric Devendorf on our TVs again today on ACC Network. So there we are. That's the scene. Disperse, watch, listen, do whatever you're going to do for the game. We will reconvene here 2 hours. Just as I said, there's like an immediate hard stop time for post game today. Like, come on, let's not play around with overtime. All right, let's not get funny with it in a game that's clearly going to be close at the Dome here today. But whenever the game ends, give us like a minute. We'll hit all the buttons, and we'll be back here for post game. Your calls. Red Autry's post-game press conference from Romano, and all the good stuff that we always do after the game. I'll be hanging with you here after the game today until right around 6:45. With that, head your separate ways, people. Get out there. Enjoy the game. Hopefully we'll enjoy the game. We'll come back here, chat afterwards here on Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Radio in the Cuse.
This is